Spain's Costa de Morte, or Death Coast, has a pretty intimidating reputation for sailors. Jagged rocks, combined with winds that often blow boats towards them, mean that this stretch of coastline was historically very dangerous. But with modern technology, sailing around here is much easier, and we'd heard that the area is now one of Galicia's best cruising grounds. So this week, we set out to explore the Costa de Morte, round Cape Finisterre, and find out if this stretch of coastline really is as intimidating as the name suggests.
Hi, we're Stu and Laura. We swapped our lives on land for adventures aboard our 36-foot sailboat Delfino. After an amazing summer learning the ropes in the stunning Scottish Highlands, we've now left the UK and are sailing south. Subscribe and join us for a journey full of discovery, learning and delicious food along the way.
We seem to have sensed you up mast in the middle of some sort of festa. Saints are being paraded around and boats are coming in and out of the harbour. Maybe not the best time to have chosen.
It turns out that this celebration was for the Virgin Carmen, traditionally the protector of fishermen and seafarers. The procession went along the seafront before the statue was taken on a boat for a sail around the harbour to bless the coast and those that sail on it. And it turns out we were glad to be blessed, because the next day we were going to start our sail along the infamous Costa de Morte. Unfortunately for us, by the time we were ready to leave A Coruña, there was no wind forecast for a week, so we decided to motor the 45 miles around to Camariñas. This did at least mean that we had relatively flat seas, making it much easier to spot dolphins. It's almost 70 miles to make it around Cape Finisterre in one go, so we opted to break the journey up into two and stop in Muxía first. As well as it being a really long day to go directly from A Coruña, we also wanted to wait for good weather to head around the corner. A few days of onshore winds or headwinds were forecast, and given the Costa de Morte's reputation for shipwrecks in those conditions, we thought it was probably better to wait. The scenery along this stretch of coastline got better around every headland, and together with the sea life and number of birds that we saw along the way, it really reminded us of Scotland, although quite a bit warmer. Finally, we reached Muxía and dropped our anchor for the first time in ages, and after a long day of motoring, the peaceful anchorage felt extremely tranquil and calm.
So after a lovely week in A Coruña, we've come to the Ria Camariñas, which is just before the southern Rias, which is supposed to be lovely, and there's a big change in kind of the general vibe. I mean, this is the first time that we've experienced this sort of like sunny, sandy beaches. I'm in shorts and t-shirt. It's 20 degrees. It's really nice. I'm really enjoying it. We've been here for a day, just hanging out, doing a bit of work. But today what we're going to do is we're going to put the dinghy in for the first time this season, if you can believe it. And we're going to go to shore, and apparently there's a nice walk along the river there that we're going to go do. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. Haven't splashed her in a while, so probably going to be a bit rusty. When was the last time that we put the dinghy in the water?
August?
August? Well, where were we? Up in Scotland?
Yeah, in Scotland. We haven't put the dinghy in since Scotland.
Yeah, I think you're right. When we went to Isle of Rona?
Yeah.
And we saw all of those deer and stuff?
Yeah, that was August bank holiday weekend.
Wow.
It is now, what is it, July? So almost a year.
Crazy. Yeah, hopefully we can remember how to do this.
Our dinghy is a 10-foot wooden dinghy that we store in half on the deck. When we need to use it, we bolt the two bits together before launching it. To keep it a bit more stable during this process, we tie it to the mast and use all the various ropes on board to support it. We didn't trust ourselves with an inflatable dinghy, which is probably a good idea as you'll see later, and this one has worked really well for us so far. The only downside was that we couldn't find one ready to buy within our budget, so we had to build this one in our garage before we moved aboard.
What are you doing?
I don't know. I'm trying to remember, we usually do like a double...
A round turn and 2 half hitches with a bite. I don't know what that is.
It's not a knot. It's not a knot, that's what.
Oh, I'm glad I am filming this.
God damn it. Fine, fine.
Yep, there you go.
I know how to knot.
No, you don't.
Apparently not.
Apparently not. Wait.
Wow, this dinghy's getting beaten, but I guess that's why they do get beaten up, don't they? Ow. Oh! Oh. I can't believe we built this thing in our garage, you know?
I know, crazy. Ready?
Yeah, we're off, eh?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, key.
I was like, why are we moving?
Moment of panic.
Whee! First dinghy ride in almost a year. This is more relaxing in my imagination.
It's fine. Honestly, you are surfing a little bit. Nice. Well, Laura, first impressions of a Spanish beach?
It's lovely. Not too hot, not too cold.
It's pretty good, right?
Some topless people.
I'm okay with it. It's beautiful here, though.
Lovely.
It's really nice. Feels like it's 10 degrees warmer here than on the boat. Let's go for a walk first. Path apparently goes up into the river here and back along there.
The southern rears are warmer, more humid, and get less wind than the northern coastline of Galicia, so they are much lusher, which we definitely found when we went on our walk.
Wow, I must say this is extremely beautiful.
Yeah. Because like we're in a jungle with a load of like abandoned buildings.
It does. It does. And check this thing out. What do you think it is?
It's a mill.
It's a mill?
See the millstones in there, look.
Ah, cool.
Because of all the streams in this area, it was historically full of water mills that ground the grain produced in the region. The history of growing and milling grain is also why Galicia is full of and famous for its raised granaries, which maximise airflow and do their best to keep the crops free of rot in the humid climate.
So we were really hoping to do the Camino de Santiago this year, but I think we just won't have time. But at least we get a chance to follow it for a bit. This is the sign. You follow these and it goes all the way to Santiago. Tides come out quite significantly since we left the dinghy here. There's like a little track that ends like right there, and now we've got to take it all the way over there. And there's the track. And it ends right here, and the sea is like all the way out there. We good. Made it back after a little burn around in the dinghy. That was super fun. I enjoyed that a lot.
As we arrived back to the boat, some friends that we'd met in A Coruña joined us in the anchorage for an evening on the beach.
Now it is time to head into Muxía, the marina here. We're just going to spend one night, recharge the batteries, get some food, and then we're going to head off again. But before we head into the marina, we have got to get the dinghy back on deck. And it's a little bit more blustery than when we launched the dinghy for the first time, so fingers crossed that we can get it on without too much of a faff.
Just come into Muxía for basically 24 hours, charge the batteries and check out the little town here before we head around Finisterre and kind of enter the cool southern areas. So this town Muxía is like being called the end of the world, and to be honest, it feels a bit like that. I'm very conscious that there's nothing to the west of us until you basically get to the US, which is pretty crazy.
Empanadas are a Galician culinary staple. Savoury pies with fillings like tuna, octopus or meat wrapped in a flaky crust, which are much larger and flatter than South American empanadas that are more commonly found in the UK. They originally became popular as practical meals for farmers, fishermen and pilgrims on the Camino, and we ate a lot of them during our time in Galicia. We really enjoyed walking around Muxía. The town was very relaxed, clearly really connected to the sea, and had lots of street art to check out. But my favourite thing about Muxía was all the very cute cats.
I think we found our next boat. Look at it, it's beautiful.
I think I'd like at least one more cabin.
Coffee?
Yes, please.
Hey, I'm looking forward to sailing today.
Okay.
Yeah.
I am not dreading sailing today.
I'll take that, it's an improvement.
Yeah. Thank you for my coffee.
You're welcome.
We are getting ready to sail, and we're trying out new seasickness medication for me today. So Stu bought me these from the pharmacy in A Coruña, which are the same medication as what's sold under the brand name Sea Legs. And they are not what I was expecting. They are like little bits of chewing gum that you chew. So I'm not meant to swallow it and I chew it, but I don't know how long I chew it for. But that's what I'm doing now. Yeah.
We're leaving Muxía today. We're heading around Finisterre or Finisterre, depending on what specific translation, which translates as the end of the earth, and it definitely feels like that. This whole coastline is actually called Costa del Morte, which is a little bit intimidating, the coast of death. And it's called that because of the combination of big swell, submerged rocks, very imposing landscape, very imposing coastline, and quite large winds which build up. You know, if the wind's blowing one way or the other, it tends to compress around the Spanish coast. So I have been a little bit anxious to go to sea at times around here. But today looks pretty good. I mean, there will be big swell. I know mentally, rationally that we can handle it. So it's just a question of getting out there and doing it. But the forecast looks pretty good. We're looking at sort of 15 to 20 knots behind us. So it should be quite a nice downwind run, something that Delfino handles very well. And it should take us about 5 hours. So the sun's just starting to come out. It should be a lovely sail all in all. So let's go.
Yeah, a little bit nervous about the swell. So taken some seasickness medication and we've just had some food. So fingers crossed that will help.
Yeah.
I managed to fall down some steps in town yesterday and hurt my ankle, so I am going to drive us out of here while Stu does the heavy lifting with the ropes. And I'm a little bit nervous. It is quite windy, and it is quite windy in a direction that is going to make it very difficult for me to turn around.
Just like Roscoe.
Just like Roscoe. I've learned a bit since then. So I'm going to try and reverse out as far as possible. It does mean that I'm going to have to reverse quite a long way, and then turning around is still going to be difficult out there anyway. But there's fewer boats around to hit today, so...
You can do it, Laura. I believe in you.
Thanks.
I going up?
Yeah.
Is this our course?
Yeah. At least until we get around these rocks, maybe a bit more.
So we made it out of the marina and headed out of the rear into the open water. And while the waves weren't the worst we've ever seen, they weren't hugely comfortable either. But there were lots of birds to look at and other boats to look out for.
We have been going along for about an hour and a half now. We've cleared the first headland, but now we need to turn a lot more downwind. So I think what we're going to do is roll in the Genoa and go downwind just with the main, but very, very prevented. Is that right?
Yeah. Delfino seems quite happy. Life is good on board. The motion has relaxed quite a lot.
Yeah, that's been great.
It has been good. You feeling okay, Laura?
So I'm feeling quite drowsy.
Okay.
Feeling much less nauseous now than I was half an hour ago.
That's good. Sounds like you're ready for a nap.
I am ready for a nap, yeah.
I went down for a nap, and this is probably when we started getting a little bit too comfortable.
Alright, Laura, I'm going to drive us. You okay with that?
Stu started single-handedly jabbing the boat, or turning with the wind moving across the stern of the boat. This means that the sails change sides more violently than when tacking, where the wind goes across the front of the boat, and it requires more setup, because you usually jibe when you're sailing downwind, when we always have preventers on to stop an accidental jibe, which can be dangerous. So Stu needed to remove one preventer, turn the boat, and then get the other preventer back on again on the other side. Usually this would have been no problem, but today we learnt a valuable lesson.
Yeah, all good. Not so good. Accidental jibe. No. Yeah, all good. Could have been worse. Ooh. That could have been bad. This is the problem with running in this way. I'm well aware of that risk. Ooh. Almost got a rope burn, but managed to survive it. Oh, so I think that was the first accidental jibe we've done on Delfino. And it was like full from one side to the other. I was holding the preventer line, and that's what gave me the rope burn. That's the problem with our current setup, with the preventers not having a winch. The autopilot is the thing that I didn't have faith in. Well, anyway, close shave, but a little bit of a rope burn, but nothing bad. Can't really. All good.
So we've definitely learnt some things. We now always jibe with both of us on deck, and we've installed some cleats to prevent this from happening in future. So, with the sail prevented again, we carried on making slow progress towards Cape Finisterre, but as we neared the Cape, we decided to get our Genoa out to keep the sails balanced and make a better course. But unfortunately, someone hadn't tied the ropes up properly when we put the dinghy away, and everything was all a little bit tangled.
Somebody forgot to put the spinnaker halyard on the wrong side.
I didn't even know this was a thing that could happen.
Alright, I got a furl again. We're about to make it, Laura. Round Finisterre.
Yeah.
Into the, hopefully, like, basically trade wind sailing in the southern Rias. Wow, so beautiful.
We were so focused on the acceleration zone outside of the Cape that we didn't think enough about the other side, and as soon as we got round, we were slammed by the wind. So it was a relief to get to the anchorage, drop our sails, and get settled for the night.
Hey, we made it.
Made it. We didn't get divorced.
Was there a genuine risk of that?
No, there's no lawyers out here.
Yeah, so I mean, things got a bit hairy there. I think that's the reality.
Yeah. We turned the corner and we were like, oh, we're probably going to drop the sail, so we won't bother putting a reef in. And then we decided to sail, and that was dumb.
Yeah. Should have put the reef in, really.
Yeah.
Overall, a lovely sail.
Yeah, we are here, and it's actually, we've only got 7 knots of wind coming over the boat
It's
at the moment.
very relaxed. Quite sunny. I might go for a swim.
Yeah, I'd run away too.
Yeah. So it's just after 9. This anchorage that's around the corner from Finisterre. I gotta say, this is one of the most beautiful anchorages I think that I've been in a very, very long time. Certainly on par with some of the ones in Scotland. Just the combination of these big mountains and really long views, beautiful sandy beach and green trees. Yeah, honestly awesome. Sort of top 5 anchorages so far of this trip. Last night was pretty gusty. Overall it was pretty calm, but every once in a while I felt like we got blasted by like a 20 or 30 knot gust. That was just a bit unexpected, but otherwise calm night. Today we're going to continue down the coast to Morte, where we're going to leave the boat for a little bit. Should be about 20 miles. Seems like we'll go pretty far. And I think we're going to practice putting the spinnaker pole up. We haven't put the spinnaker pole up in a very long time. We've just not done that much downwind sailing. But today's a good opportunity to do it. We're in protected waters and we'll be heading more or less dead downwind for a couple hours. So yeah, looking forward to it. Should be a really nice day of sailing.
So all of these little fishing boats have arrived this morning and they've all dropped off the divers. Don't know what these divers are doing.
Been quite variable so far. We sort of had, I don't know, 7 knots, so very little wind when we first picked up the anchor. We put the full main out. Then we had quite a lot of wind. We were seeing sort of 25, 26 true, which is a little bit too much to have all of that canvas out and can get a little bit stressful. And now it's dropped down again, so now we're seeing kind of 15 knots true, which is what was originally forecasted. Pretty sure it's because there's this compression zone that's going on back there. We've got some mountains on that side, some mountains on that side, and all of this area here is just really compressing the wind. But at the moment it's a very comfortable cruisy sail. 15 knots true, we're doing 5.7 knots more or less on route. Very nice. Probably won't even be able to see it, but if you look carefully out there, there's quite a few white caps in between that mountain and these ones over here. So all of the wind was funneling through this area.